I really cannot remember the last time I was this excited to talk about a story, because what we are going to discuss today combines two of my favorite things: karma and the humiliation of a MAGA Republican. And the MAGA Republican in question is JD Vance, who had one of the most embarrassing moments I have ever seen from a politician, so much so that Donald Trump can be seen behind him just with this disgusted look on his face for someone who he already does not respect. It was a disaster for Vance that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, this moment in which JD Vance was humiliated took place in front of his alma mater's football team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who were at the White House today. So before we get into what happened with JD, unfortunately, we have to start with Donald Trump's introduction, which was more about himself than the Buckeyes.
Offensive line is so important. We have, you have no idea. I've seen teams that were great, but they didn't have the offensive line, and it just doesn't work out, right, Will? Right. You beat the Fighting Irish that day, 34-23, and for the first time in 10 years, proudly claimed the title of the great state of Ohio, the great state. I love that state. We won that state in a landslide, Governor. We won it in a landslide. I love Ohio. We'll never let you down, I swear, I promise. And if I let you down, he won't, okay? So you have a backup. But I do love the place. And so today I'm honored to call the Ohio State University Buckeyes national champions.
The national champions are there, and Donald Trump still finds a way to make it about himself. No shock that Donald Trump is so self-involved that he can't think about anything other than his big win, which I'm sure if we looked at what those numbers would be today, the people of Ohio who are losing manufacturing jobs because of Donald Trump and are now being promised manufacturing jobs that aren't coming by Donald Trump probably aren't that happy with him. But this is a story about JD Vance and the humiliating moment that took place for him today. And it was so bad, especially because of what he had to say in this clip right here.
I think that our culture sends a message to young men that you should suppress every masculine urge. You should try to cast aside your family. You should try to suppress what makes you a young man in the first place. And I think that my message to young men is don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person because you're a man, because you like to tell a joke, because you like to have a beer with your friends, or because you're competitive. It's our message, the cultural message, and I think the president's and mine is the exact opposite, but our cultural message is, I think that it wants to turn everybody, into, whether male or female, into androgynous idiots who think the same, talk the same, and act the same. We actually think God made male and female for a purpose, and we want you guys to thrive as young men and as young women, and we're going to help with our public policy to make it possible to do that.
JD Vance pretends that he's this picture of masculinity, that he's this macho guy who just likes to kick it with his buddies and crack open a couple of beers, which he doesn't, very clearly. JD Vance is this like stiff and slimy and conniving guy who I don't think anyone would want to hang out with. There is no charm to JD Vance. There's no charisma. There's nothing there, even though everyone in the MAGA world wants to tell you that. Especially, they want to say he's more masculine and more charming than Tim Walz, which Jesse Waters said, which is really about to backfire when you see this clip.
Women love masculinity, and women do not love Tim Walz. So that should just tell you about how masculine Tim Walz is. The other day, you saw him with a vanilla ice cream shake. Had a straw in it. Oh, again, that tells you everything. Judge Janine.
So it's Tim Walz who isn't masculine. It's Tim Walz who's too awkward for you. Well, JD Vance today was with his hometown team, his alma mater, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the national champions of college football, and he decided, because that was his team, he was going to present them with the trophy. Now it is a different trophy than you will see usually from the Super Bowl, the Lombardi Trophy, or the Larry O'Brien in the NBA. It doesn't have a sturdy base. But someone like JD, who's all masculine and loves sports, he would know that, right? Well, he didn't. He didn't know that, and it went pretty poorly. Oh my God. We're gonna be running that clip of JD right here, just again and again as I talk about this. Anyone who watches even the smallest bit of college football knows that that trophy does not have a base to it, right? Like I said, it's not like the Larry O'Brien trophy in the NBA where you have the base, right? That little platform that it's on. It's not like the Lombardi trophy. It's not like the World Cup trophy, right? Those trophies have a base to them. The college national championship trophy in football, you have to pick up, right? You lift. And the fact that JD Vance thought it was attached to that little platform at the bottom very clearly shows that he is not an actual fan of college football. You would know that. And he didn't. Like, what is this? I love sports. I'm the Ohio guy. Like, we know it's all just BS from JD Vance, but you would think he would know this detail about the trophy. Also, politicians have advanced teams, these people who help them with their schedules, communicate what the activity they are engaging in. You would think there would be some warning to Vance that if you pick it up from the bottom, it is going to break and you're going to look ridiculous like he did. He did not know what that trophy was. He does not clearly follow college football, and he embarrassed himself because of it. It wasn't very masculine there, JD, like playing around on the floor. And you can see Trump in the background. He's been like, oh my God. And the guys behind him too, as he's going to pick it up from the bottom, are like, what are you doing? Give me that. Embarrassing from JD. But again, the guy's a fake. This should not surprise us that he doesn't know anything about the team he very clearly claims to love, the trophy they won that he doesn't know how it works. Guy's a goof, and he's a liar. It's just what it is. Constant hypocrisy coming out of MAGA, even in their sports fandom. JD Vance, not very masculine. I don't know who would take that over having Tim Walz had a milkshake once, and so now Jesse Waters is constantly attacking him. Hopefully they play that clip on Fox. Probably not gonna, though. But speaking of the hypocrisy coming out of MAGA, of course, we know these are people who claim to love the rule of law but are actively defying it right now. And that is exactly what Bernie Sanders has been railing against and did in this clip right here.
We're fighting a president who undermines our Constitution every day, who threatens our freedom of speech and assembly, and whose agents are rounding up innocent people off the streets, throwing them into unmarked vans, and bringing them to detention centers in this country and abroad. That is what takes place in dictatorships, not in America. We will not allow them to continue to do that. The founding, I find myself trying to remember my history lessons. Should have done better in history. But I think back to the founding of this country. And let me tell you, the founding fathers of this country were no dummies. They remember the history. We're talking about the 1780s. They had just fought a war, an impossibly difficult war, where they defeated the King of England, the most powerful person on the planet. Let's hear it for George Washington. But anyhow, these guys had taken on an autocrat. And they sat and they sit around and they said, all right, what do we want in our new country? What do we want? And what they said is, we don't want any one person to have all of that power. So they dealt with the Federalist Papers and all that stuff. And they came up with this kind of brilliant idea of a separation of powers. All right. They said we're going to have a legislative branch, Congress, House, and Senate. We are going to have a executive branch, the president. We're going to have a judiciary, the federal courts. And each one will have check on each other. And what I want to tell you, and I don't need to tell you, I think you're seeing it every single day. You have a president who is working overtime to take power away from the Congress. You got a president who is working overtime to take power away from the federal courts. Now, it is unprecedented. No president, no member of Congress wants to see a Supreme Court or any court rule against him or her. We don't like to see that. And I will tell you that we have seen in the last 20 years with the Roberts Court horrendous decisions on Citizens United and Roe versus Wade, terrible decisions. But we understand that we live in a rule of law. What Trump and his friends are doing now is they're saying, oh, a judge ruled against us. A judge said we can't do something which is unconstitutional. Let us get rid of that judge. Let us impeach that judge. So in other words, you take power away from Congress, you take power away from the judiciary, and also you got a president who really does not like to be criticized. So he is sued. I mean, this is, again, unprecedented. He has sued ABC, CBS, Meta, the Des Moines Register. The Des Moines Register did a poll he didn't like. They are suing him. They are investigating right now PBS and NPR. So you add it all together. And what I would say to Trump, if you cannot take criticism, get out of the political process. This is a democracy, and criticism is an essential part of that democracy.
The anti-oligarchy tour has been such a powerful display of not just our agency, not just our organizing ability, but what can happen when Democrats just step up and communicate and go out on the road and show the raw emotion that we all feel every day. We don't just elect leaders to go to Washington, we elect them to lead. That's the role. It doesn't just stop with the up and down votes. You have to organize. You have to create this agency. You have to show us how you're going to fight. Bernie and AOC are doing that. I'm glad that we have them. And we're going to keep talking about that work every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, support our effort to senselessly mock JD Vance, I'm going to be playing that clip every chance I get. You can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.